Alright, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be hitting up chest. Now I'm not expecting the world from this chest session today, if I'm being honest, because the last two chest sessions have been fairly disappointing. But we'll see what we can do and just push where we can push. Anyway, we'll start off with, the same as we do every week, we'll start off with flat dumbbell presses, then move on to incline dumbbell presses, and we'll finish off with a set of dumbbell flies. I'm also going to talk to you about 10 different mistakes that people make on their health and fitness journeys. Let's get to it. Alright, so what are some of the biggest mistakes that I've seen beginners especially, but everyone make at the gym whenever whenever they're training? I think number one on that list is going to be something that I've harped on about it in other videos. I'm not going to apologize for that. It's having a program or devising a program that they can't stay consistent with, that isn't sustainable in the long run. Now that can look at a lot of different ways. It can be like a beginner starting out. You got a lot of fucking energy and you go in too hot and you try and do everything all at once. And within the first 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, you've burnt yourself out and you're thinking to yourself, I can't keep this up. Or usually what happens is it'll be like, oh well, I'll just take it. I'm not really feeling it today. I'll take today off, and all of a sudden you start to get, you'll miss a day here and a day there, not day here or a day there becomes, happens for a number of weeks, and before you know it, you've lost a load of training days. Devising, that's probably the number one, sort of the easiest pitfall to fall into, or not the easiest, but it's one of the main pitfalls that I've seen people fall into over the years. They devise programs for themselves that they just can't stick to for whatever reason, whether it's doing too much or, it doesn't fit in with the rest of their life or whatever it happens to be. So I would have to say that would rank a number one for me, not being able to make a sustainable program that you can stay consistent with in the long term. The second thing that I think a lot of people fall into, a trap that I've seen people from beginners right the way through to some quite advanced lifters fall into this trap. They completely misjudge their diet. So they either, and to be honest, it's not anyone's fault, because there's so much conflicting information out there on the internet, especially from people like me that aren't like non-experts who are just throwing their opinion out there, and then people latch on to it and they're like, oh, that must be right. But things like, they'll hear on the internet about, oh, you have to eat X number of grams of protein for whatever about your body weight is, and they end up over consuming on protein, under consuming on fat and carbohydrates, and then they wonder why they're not making progress. Or conversely, what will happen is they'll just bump up their protein, but they'll not change any of the rest of their diet, and all of a sudden they start putting fat on, and they wonder why. A lot of the times, actually, what happens when that happens, a lot of times that I've seen happen is they think because the number in the scale's going up and they're lifting weights that it must be muscle they're putting on, when really they're just getting fatter. So yeah, that would probably be the second sort of pitfall that I've seen a lot of people fall into. They just this, and it can be tricky to work out too. but you're not balancing your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats to meet whatever goals it is you want to meet. Yeah, I think the other thing a lot of people misjudge is how much carbohydrate you need when you're lifting weight. When you're training with weights, your muscles are basically carbohydrate and water. That's essentially what the inside of a muscle cell is. So you need to, if you're using up all your muscle glycogen by lifting weight, you need to replace that muscle glycogen. And the way you replace that muscle glycogen is through carbohydrates and staying hydrated. That'll be what replaces don't get me wrong, protein's important as well, because obviously you need to, any damage that's done or any new tissue that needs to be generated, you need to have the building blocks, the amino acids, in order to do that. But if you don't have the carbohydrate and the water in your system, then all that's going to happen is your muscles your body can only put in what's there, so your muscles will only get enough of what you have in your system to put into it. So yeah, a lot of people sort of underestimate. I think this goes back in the 1950s and the 1960s. It was very prevalent in the bodybuilding world that you had a high protein, high fat diet. But what a lot of people, and your man Atkins, Dr. Atkins, sort of latched onto that, and he was like, this is a good way to lose fat, and it is a good way to lose fat. But what they haven't told you, the part that hasn't come out alongside that, is that the bodybuilders that were doing it in the 1950s and 60s were doing it to lose fat over short periods of time, in a few weeks just before a bodybuilding contest. That's how they lost a lot of body fat. It wasn't something that they did for sustained long periods of time. For the sustained long periods of time, they had high carbohydrates, high protein, and moderate fat. So yeah, that's number 2. Anyway. Alright, so number 3 on things that I've seen people do, that like mistakes that I've seen people make, is probably getting too, and I'm guilty of this myself, so I'm getting too attached to any given particular style of training. Especially whenever you're starting out, I think it's very important to do high volume with lower, not saying lightweight, but lower weight. Do low volume with higher weight. Find out what failure feels like. All those different training modalities. I think it's very important, especially as a beginner, that you try it all and see what works for you, and learn from that. And conversely, whenever you know what works for you and you've been doing it for an amount of time, don't be afraid to every now and again mix it up. Take 4 weeks. The thing is, once you've built a foundation, once you've built a muscle, it's much easier to maintain than it is to build it in the first place. So don't be afraid to take 4 weeks or 6 weeks out, take a mesocycle, as it were, and experiment with a different training modality to see, has your body changed and adapted. And if you've been doing one style of training, especially for a prolonged period of time, if you change that modality and try a different style of training, do you see any results from that? Or better still, find out what I've found works best for me, is a combination of using the heaviest weights as close to failure as I can, and then using some, especially with some of the isolation exercises, some lighter weight, but really focusing on getting good quality reps and doing a lot of reps. A good example of would be the single arm pull downs that I do on back day. I find those invaluable. I don't go anywhere near failure. I mean, I'm training on those, on that particular exercise, I'm training with about 9 or 10 maybe reps in reserve. but I'm feeling every rep, and I feel that I'm getting the benefit from doing it. Not necessarily in terms of size, but in terms of like that mind muscle connection to the lot. So yeah, don't be afraid to experiment with different training modalities. I think it's an easy way to get yourself stuck in a rut is to find what you think works for you, and maybe it does work for you. But then just to do that and not to look outside of anything else at any time. Yeah, so that would be number 3 on the list of sort of common mistakes that I've seen people make. And related to that, mistake number 4, and this is especially true of people just starting out, not going to failure. I think that's a huge mistake. Going to failure is something, where it's safe, going to failure is something that's invaluable, especially to learn what it feels like. For someone that has never experienced going to failure before, learning what failure feels like is incredibly beneficial. So it is, because it will allow you, once you know you're getting close to failure and what failure feels like, it'll allow you for years to come, for the rest of your lifting career essentially, to be able to accurately judge and gauge just how hard you've pushed any given exercise in any given set. So that would be probably mistake number 4, and that's more specifically to beginners. They just, most of the time, they don't lift heavy enough for long enough to get close enough to failure to really feel what that feels like. Now the flip side of that is, if you don't know how to do it safely, don't ever try to go to failure. You go to failure when you've got someone there with you, or when you know that it's safe to go to failure. So exercises that it's generally safe to go to failure on, something like seated cable rows or pull downs, leg extensions, leg curls, stuff like that is safe to go to failure on. Stuff like a bench press or squat, I wouldn't be trying to go to failure on those. Dumbbell presses is arguable that you could get the failure on, so long as you know how to safely drop the weight. You can't just, if you turn your hands out the way when you fail on a dumbbell press, you'll end up pulling your shoulder. So long as you know how to bail safely with a dumbbell press, it's safe enough to go to failure. I wouldn't try to go to failure on the likes of the leg press, even though most leg presses have like safety catches. Actually, the best leg press I ever used didn't have safety catches, but it had big springs at them. I'm going on a tangent now, but it had big springs at the bottom of it. It was a homemade job, so it was. But every rep you had to start it from the lowest position, so you could never really lift a weight that you couldn't lift, or that was unsafe for you to lift, because you had to be able to get it off the springs at the bottom. And then whenever you finished, you just set it back down on the springs. It was a brilliant leg press, really comfortable to sit into. Probably the best leg press I've ever used, definitely, in fact. But anyway, yes, so that's mistake number 4, is specifically for beginners, not learning how to go to failure and not going to failure in order to be able to experience that and know what it feels like, so that you can more accurately judge all the rest of your training sessions forever after. Alright, mistake number 5 that people make, they get it into their head that they're going to look like someone else whenever they start training, and then they become discouraged when they end up only looking like a different version of themselves. It's such an easy, and this isn't just a problem for lifters in the gym. This is I suppose this is like a social media problem in general. Even before social media, like in the days of celebrity and stuff, um, people can end up with all sorts of psychological disorders and whatnot because they're looking at other people and wondering why they don't look like that. The reason they don't look like that, the reason you don't look like that, the reason I don't look like that is because I look like me. I can only ever look like me. I can look like a better version of me. So I can. And you can only ever look like you, or you can look like a better version of you. That's what you need to keep in mind. Now, I'm not saying don't admire other people or don't have role models. Absolutely do. But realise that they're just better looking versions of themselves. You're never going to look exactly like that. So don't sweat it when you don't. What to do is, and this is, I suppose, a bit of practical advice, instead of constantly comparing yourself to some outside factor, compare yourself, take photographs of yourself and compare yourself week on week on week, month on month, year on year on year, and follow your own journey and see how you improve and how you become a better version of yourself, and take pride in that too. Take pride in it and take inspiration from that, because that change in you that you've seen, yourself getting better and better over time, that's your hard work that's done that. That's your dedication and your consistency that has done that. And that's something that you should be proud of. So it is. Anyway, let's go for another set here. So the sixth mistake that I see people make, and this is sort of more nuanced than some of the other mistakes, but it's misunderstanding cardio. So it is, people tend to think of cardio as being, you have strength training here or weight training here, and you have cardio here. So your weight training can essentially be broken down into training for strength and training for hypertrophy, or some combination of both of those. Cardio, people tend to think of cardio as just being cardio, but it's not. You need to match the type of cardio you're doing, because believe it or not, there are different kinds of cardio. You need to match the kind of cardio you're doing with whatever your other goals are. Now, what do I mean by that? So, it's no good just if you're training for strength and hypertrophy, you shouldn't just be going out and doing like high intensity cardio. You're going to do high intensity cardio, you're going to increase your VO2 max, which will have some crossover to your strength and hypertrophy training, but it comes at a cost. It's actually detrimental to your strength and hypertrophy training, because you take so much out of your, if you imagine your body, and your body's a system, a closed system that you have to feed in order to recover. Well, if you're taking more out of that system for cardio, you've less to put into your strength and hypertrophy training. So you have, or you have less that you're able to, less recovery reserves. The way you should be using it, now that's not to say that you shouldn't be doing high intensity cardio training. You absolutely should. But you need to be doing it at a time when you're not training for strength and hypertrophy. Do your high intensity cardio training. If you're only doing some sort of resistance training for maintenance, then you can do high intensity cardio and put more focus on the high intensity cardio to drive up the VO2 max, so that on the next meso cycle you can cut out the high intensity cardio, but your VO2 max is raised, and now you've got more to put into your strength and hypertrophy training. If you're doing strength and hypertrophy training, and that's the goal, either to get stronger or hypertrophy, or the combination of those two things, then what you should be doing is some sort of steady state cardio. So you should, because a steady state cardio, and it doesn't need to be for hours and hours at a time, 30 minutes to an hour is more than enough for most people. what that will do, what that type of cardio does is it promotes capillary growth into the muscles, right? And that capillary growth in the muscles also, that takes less out of the system as well, so you've got more to put in there. But the capillary growth into the muscles is really important, because whenever you're not doing the actual exercises and you're eating, those extra capillaries are going to deliver more nutrients into the muscle, so it makes your body more efficient at recovering. So it does. So yeah, that would be mistake number 6, not understanding that the type of cardio you're doing will have an impact on your strength and hypertrophy training. Right, I'm going to do a back offset here, I've decided, on the flat press before we'll move on to inclines. I need to get a hurry on because the time's starting to get away from me. Alright, the 7th mistake that I see people making is, and this is something I've talked about in a previous video, they either take too long between sets or they don't take enough time between sets. Like I said in that other video, the optimal time between sets would be about 4 to 5 minutes in order to regenerate ATP. I wouldn't go any less for rest ways. I wouldn't rest for any less than about 2 or 2.5 minutes between sets. And conversely, on the other side of that, and this is going to be personal to you, but what I've found with myself is if I wait too long between sets, my nervous system disengages and I find it difficult to activate the target muscles again. So it's fine. Not, I've found for myself, any more than about 7 minutes is far too long. So it is. Ideally, I'm in and around that sort of, I like to try and stick at the sort of 4 to 5 minute mark. So we'll do. Anyway, let's hit this next set. So mistake number 8 that people make, and I am probably more guilty of this than anybody, and that is your rep quality and not getting good rep quality, whether that be doing the reps too fast on the eccentric part of the motion, or by not getting a full deep stretch at the lengthened part of every rep. It's so vitally important that you do that, and it's the one thing. And again, I'm sitting here telling you it. My rep quality's crap, and I know my rep quality's crap. So I do, and it's something that I'm always trying to get better at, unsuccessfully, as you can see. But yeah, rep quality's vitally important, and especially when you're starting out. Really pay attention to getting your, learn how to do the exercise, the movement, get the movement pattern correct, learn what a good rep is, and then obviously you gradually increase the weight from there. But once you know what a good rep feels like, you'll get an idea in your own head when your rep quality starts to break down, when you start moving a wee bit too fast on the eccentric part of the motion. It's also a good way to injure yourself at if you move too fast on the eccentric part, because essentially if you're moving too fast, it's an uncontrolled descent. So it is, which is basically just falling. Fancy way of saying falling. So you don't want to let the weight fall, because then you have the impact load at the bottom. which leads to injury, a risk of injury. So it does. So yeah, rep quality is so vitally important. Also, you can, generally speaking, you can lift a little bit lighter in order to get keep the intensity the same, get the same amount of tension into the muscle, but with a slightly less weight and better form, which means that you've got more tension on the muscle through more of the range of motion, which leads to better growth and you have less chance of injury. So yeah, that would be number 9, or is it 8? Forget what number I'm on now. That would be the next sort of big one, is rep quality. Pay attention to rep quality, and make sure you're doing it right. But again, don't be going so light to get your rep quality. It's a balancing act. It's enough weight that you can just barely hit, get your however many reps you're aiming for. You should be getting close to failure, which again loops back to why learning how to go to failure is important. You should be using a weight that allows you to get close enough to failure, but every rep perfectly executed. That's the balancing act that you're aiming for. So it is. But yeah, rep quality's vitally important. Alright, so mistake number 9 that people make, and this is more aimed at sort of beginners. They take up exercise as a way to lose weight. Now, I've touched on this in another video. You shouldn't be exercising to lose weight. Exercise, if you think about, you exercise for 1 hour a day, that means you're exercising for 1/24th of that day. That's a tiny fraction of that time. So it is a tiny fraction of the day. If one of your goals is going to be to lose body fat, I should say that, I shouldn't say lose weight, just if one of your goals is to lose body fat, then the 2 things that you need to be doing is don't eat as many calories, right? And try to increase what you call your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, okay? That's the number of the stuff that you do, right? Moving your hands, moving your legs, whenever you're fidgeting, all this stuff uses up calories. And if you can be doing that sort of stuff, and getting your steps up is a good way to do that as well. It's all that stuff that isn't in the gym is what's going to help you lose weight outside of the gym. The other thing you can do, and it really comes down to what you put in your body. What you put in your body is essentially, you can never, the way it's always been told to me, you can't out exercise a bad diet. So if you're eating a lot of processed sugar, a lot of processed foods, or sorry, I should say refined sugars, processed foods and stuff like that, you're going to be getting a lot of very high calories in. There's also going to, especially where sugar's concerned, simple carbohydrates anyway, there's a cascade of other processes that are initiated that have other knock-on effects on your body when you take refined sugar. It's basically poison. Refined sugar is basically poison, and you should be taking it. If you're taking refined sugar at all, it should be in very, very, very small doses. So it should, and taken intelligently. Like, for example, if you want to take refined sugar, and I've said this in a previous video before too, a couple of teaspoons, 2 or 3 teaspoons, so no more than about 15 grams into some water while you're in the gym training. Not even before, while you're in the gym training. And the reason that you can kind of get away with doing that is because obviously your calorie expenditure is very high at that moment. So it is, and it will help you to get maybe an extra rep or 2 on some of the exercises that you're doing. But again, It's not necessary, and there's better ways to get those carbohydrates other than refined sugar. So yeah, it's a good one to avoid. So essentially, don't be trying to exercise to lose weight, or to lose body fat, I should say. Don't be trying to exercise to lose body fat. Exercise to get strong. And if you want to lose body fat, increase your NEAT, decrease your calories, cut out processed foods, refined sugars, and so on. That's how you lose body fat. So it is, or recomp your body. Right, let's head up another set here.
Said I got this, none of this radio pop shit. I dropped this, turning back the clock to rock shit. I cop it, said knock knock, I'm on this. I'm hot bitch, like a hot bitch, the top I lock in, I got this, radio drop this. Hot shit, just watch this, I fucking promise. Too lit, do not miss your chance to cop this. Will you capture it, or just let it slip? Oh shit, I wanna be in, cause my rap is tight. No really, they just give a fuck that I ain't black, I'm white. I'm not anyone else, man, I'm one of a kind. So sit back, relax, and listen one more time. I said I got this, none of this radio pop shit. I dropped this, turning back the clock to rock shit. I cop it, said knock knock, I'm on this. I'm hot bitch, like a hot bitch, the top lit. I said I got this, none of this radio pop shit. I dropped this, turning back the clock to rock shit. I cop it, said knock knock, I'm on this. I'm hot bitch, like a hot bitch, the top lit. I love the girls that fuck with my music, getting referrals from the girls, love to booze it, party and lose it. That's the life I'm choosing, not losing. That's my 2 cents, so use it. You know I'm back, as a matter of fact. I'm better than ever, never been better. I know that, I wrote that. Sipping on some coke, you know Jack could stare and bitch and take a pic. Kodak, I threaten the game, cause money and fame, they don't affect my brain. It's fucking all the same. I'm sick of hearing about these Insta names with Insta fame. Take a pic.
All right, that brings us to number 10, and probably the biggest mistake that anyone can make at any point, and that is not doing anything, not starting the journey. That's the single biggest mistake that most people make, is not starting to do something, no matter how small that something is. Not starting. Because if you don't start, you're never going to accomplish anything. Okay? If you don't start doing something, then you're only ever going to do nothing. And if you do nothing, that's a surefire way to guarantee zero results, zero outcome, zero good outcome, I should say. So yeah, that's the biggest mistake that the vast majority of people make. So it is. And trust me, the barrier of entry doesn't have to be sky high. You don't have to go out and join a commercial gym. Shit, you don't even have to have like a dedicated hour a day whenever you exercise. It can be something as simple as choosing to walk to the shops instead of driving, or you walk the length of the street and back, or decide that you're going to walk up and down your stairs 5 times throughout the course of the day. Anything at all. And then once you started doing that one something, that's something that you can now learn to be consistent with. So if you decide that you want to walk to the end of the street and walk back at least 1 time every day, make sure you do it 1 time every day. And then once you're doing it 1 time every day, try it for 2 times every day. Certainly 1 that you, and then 3 times, and then 4 times. Okay, but doing something, it doesn't matter how small that something is. And the thing is, the more you do the thing, the more consistent you become with it, the more you'll start to get into the way, not just of doing that one thing, but looking for other wee changes you can make. And it's all those accumulation of changes that add up to bigger things and better things. So it is. And who knows, you might start out walking to the end of the street once a day. Now, in a year's time, you could be going to the gym. So you could, or you'd be going swimming, or you could be out on your push bike, cycling. You could be jogging. Who knows where it's going to lead. And that's the great thing about this. It's every journey is individual to the person. So it's your journey to make for yourself, to make yourself better. So it is. And that's what's wonderful about it. It's unique to you, so it is, and you can take the joy, and whatever you accomplish, that's your accomplishment. So it is. You can take all those little additive things that you've added up to do, and that has become your physical culture. So it has, and hopefully you'll feel better in yourself, see you will, and in your own mind. Anyway, let's head up another set of flies here.
Effects. Yeah. I never take doubt as a lesson. I never second guess it. Take negativity and reject it. I got my mind blind to rejection, so I'll be just fine. Don't be wasting any time with discretion. I run this campaign like I'm running an election. I pop this champagne like we're not in a recession. I feel no damn pain. Ibuprofen is a blessing. Feel it pumping through my veins. Got me feeling like I'm flexing, yeah. I'm in motion, I'm obsessive like the ocean, I'm relentless. No promotion, still progressing, overdosing on these lessons. And these words my only weapon, cut you deep, oh yeah, I threaten. Feel the heat and all the tension, need relief from this whole session. But I keep myself progressing, cause I creep around suppressants. I don't sleep enough, you guessed it, every second is a blessing. Got no time to be depressed, on this grind you always stress. So I work harder than the rest, that always said to do my best.
I don't ever doubt myself, I can count on no one else. And I do not need your help, I was told to show, not tell. I don't ever doubt myself, I can count on no one else. And I do not need your help, I was told to show, not tell. So watch me. Watch me. Man, this beat got me aggressive, got me on the straight offensive. You can't stop this straight direction, cause it runs without an engine. Oh, when did I fail to mention that I need all your attention, cause we're failing?
All right, well, that's it for chest. I'm not going to lie, I'm absolutely over the moon with how that chest session went today. I added in, I did the two top sets, the same as I did 2 top sets last week, but where last week I only got, 3 reps in the first set and 5 reps in the second set. I got 7 reps in the first set, 6 sets in the second set this week. So I'm really, really over the moon with how well that went today. I hope you have enjoyed the little listicle that I made of, common mistakes that people make when on their health and fitness journeys. And I hope you can take something away from that and hopefully incorporate it into your own journeys. And if you take away any one message from that, it really is that the power is in your hands to, make a difference in your life for the better. Whatever you do, that all those accomplishments, that's a great thing about your health and fitness journey. Whatever accomplishments you make, they belong to you. They're your accomplishments that you made with your hard work and your effort. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, feed the anabolic algorithm with comments, shares, likes, and subscribes, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.